Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Dive podcast, brought to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Molly Maul, Hen Dog Maul, Coach Maul, Jamal, all that good stuff, man. I am here with AJ and Dre is on the way. And then the good man, my boy Montel. I guess he goes by the moniker Hefe on this thing. He checking in too. So let's get the administrative things out of the way before I check in with the fellas, man. So first and foremost, everybody, if you are watching or listening, whichever way you are doing that, make sure you always be sure to like the show. Make sure you rate, review, all that good stuff. If you are new to the Trap or Dive podcast, make sure you follow on that Twitch channel or subscribe to that YouTube channel to help the show's growth. It is truly appreciated. On the content side, Percy Butler. If you are looking into Percy Butler, trying to get some ideas of the type of player that he is or anything like that, I looked into his film over the past few days, did a breakdown. Written version is on Hogs Haven right now. The YouTube breakdown is on the way. We'll get that situated, when that time comes. I got to get the clips together, get my voice ready to break down Percy Butler in a sense. So that will be available soon. Very next player is De'Ami Brown. I will be looking into him next, starting tomorrow actually. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what the truth was behind his rookie season and what he can bring to this offense with Carson Wentz coming up. And then last administrative item, Maya Shaka, the first black woman to be a full-time referee. I had a chance to interview her recently. Great conversation, great person. I'm really looking forward to sharing that one. That one will be available next week, so be on the lookout for that. This won't be the first and last time I promote that one, but Maya Shaka, first black woman to be a full-time NFL referee. I spoke with her for about 25-30 minutes or so, so that will be out next week. Fellas. AJ is in right now. Montel's in right now. Hefe, how y'all doing tonight, man? Appreciate y'all joining us tonight. It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute for a live session.
Man, doing good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain too much. I'm a little bit tired. My little man running me ragged today, but it's also partially my fault.
What you do? What the hell you do?
Trying to be young and I'm not. That's it. I had a crazy weekend, bro.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if you can hear him going off upstairs. He wild.
I hear him. I heard that weekend, man, through your voice message, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't want. Yeah, man. You was in the city. You was in Baltimore.
I stayed in Baltimore. If I came to the city, I'd have hit you. I was like, bro, ain't no way we gonna make it to DC, bro.
I'm about to say, first off, we had a dinner with Ryan girlfriend and shit. Ryan ain't gonna like me saying he had a girlfriend, but he got a girlfriend.
Oh,
yeah. We had a little dinner.
Interesting.
So I was locked in, unfortunately. But it was a good night on my side. Dre, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
Shit, I'm good, man. What's up, fellas? What's going on with y'all, man?
Same old same.
Man, Montel back. We got Montel back. That's my man right there.
Yes, sir. Ready for war.
With a bourbon crew. See, Drake got his bourbon crew. Okay,
me and Montel gonna do the bourbon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm about to say, what? I'm joining the gang next show, bro. I swear to God.
You said that last time, bro.
I did.
Yeah.
Damn, my bad.
Yeah, you did.
All right, well, next time for sure. Next time for sure. All right, so listen, man. Look, here we got on the agenda. So we got a few things, small topics. Really, it's probably gonna take us. I always say that. These aren't small topics. But on the agenda today, we got a few things. First and foremost, are people overemphasizing these OTAs and off-season practice sessions? We've had a lot of talk over the past couple of weeks, and with the OTAs just beginning, and hearing the tweets come out and the reactions to those tweets of people who are at practice. Kind of interesting dynamic, and it's not just in the Washington Commanders circle, but we're gonna talk about that since this Commanders talk. It happens around the league, but we're going to talk about that for sure. Secondly, is Jack Del Rio in trouble again with the fan base? For those who don't know, who aren't on Twitter all the time, Jack Del Rio has his moments. Apparently he's had some more moments recently, literally today or last night or something like that, and it's kind of blown up to the point where people are talking again. Third, we have Carson Wentz and Ron Rivera. They had some quotes that Albert Rivera had when he spoke to both of them at some point, I think in May. So we're going to cover that one. And then lastly, if we get to it, Debo Samuel and DK Metcalf both had some action with their mini camps this week. They reported this week. One reported, one did not. What do we make of that, and what will Terry do? So with that being said, we also have the link in the stream on YouTube. The link in the description on YouTube. So I have the show open to anyone who wants to join the conversation. Look, we'll try to. I'll try to manage that side, but the link is in the description. If you are on Twitter watching this, try to navigate yourself to YouTube or even Twitch to join the discussion. But on YouTube, the link is available. You can join up at any time and talk whatever it is that we talking about, whatever subject we're talking about. Join the discussion. The floor is yours. All right. So first thing first, fellas, let's get to the first topic. OTAs, off-season practice sessions in general. I thought this was a topic because, Dre, since we went last week, and even before we went and after, the reactions to the OTAs has kind of been, it's not surprising, but it's also been kind of weird in the sense that, I've always known people to get hyped with the off-season activities and things like that, but I don't think I noticed it like as large as it is this year, in terms of the reactions and the predictions and the projections, given that there's a player or a team that puts out an incredible highlight, a one-handed catch or anything like that. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm missing it or if I'm just the one saying that I'm the outsider or I'm in the minority in this sense. I want to get a floor to you all and see how you all feel. I'm not in that boat that people were saying, Carson Wentz is going to be XYZ based on, what they've seen in OTAs. We even had people making predictions and projections based on the one practice that we seen, and we're not even media. We was out there for one practice, and there's people out there, that's making projections and stuff like that. And I just can't buy it. So the floor is yours. Are people putting too much stock into these OTAs and off-season practices with minicamp right around the corner? That's next week.
Yeah. I think people just itching for football really bad. The new draft picks coming in and getting their first work with the ones and twos and going against real bump instead of the other rookies and rookie minicamp. It's happening with every team in the league. It's not just Washington. We just probably see it a bit more because we're in the local market. But at the end of the day, there's certain things that you can pick up and realize, like, okay, this person's been putting in work in the off season, whatever the case is. When it comes to quarterbacks, you can kind of pick up on accuracy and placement of the ball. But at the end of the day, until them real live reps, when you have pressure really coming at you, it's completely different. You should look good in practice. You can't be touched. So it's a bit difficult. And plus, a lot of guys ain't really going to turn it up right now because they know that they also have, like, mandatory minicamp coming up, and then they got some free time until training camp. But, when you hear things like Ben St. Juste been looking good in OTAs and, Jahad Dotson has been making his catches and building a rapport with Wentz, should take a little bit of credence to it, but not too much. I've talked to plenty of guys on the team and how they feel, how things been going with OTAs. It seems like they're building even a closer bond with one another off the field. Like even last Friday, I was with Chase Young, William Bradley King, Landon Collins, Keith Ismail, a bunch of the guys. We were all together last week, so you could tell like these guys are really like building a bond with each other more and getting that rapport in. But other than that, you just gotta take it as it is. Like people just itching for football really bad for September to kick around. I mean, to get here.
Yeah, I agree with AJ. I mean, for me, I do see this every year. It's always seemed to be exaggerated when we're in the moment, because we don't remember too much of what happened last year at OTAs. Like I actually was listening to a podcast earlier where they mentioned in regards to Dotson and the buzz that he's been drawing all OTAs. They said that Jamin Davis was getting the same buzz, and I completely forgot that Jamin Davis was getting this buzz in OTAs. I think in training camp it was a little bit different for Jamin. That's when you started to see his struggles talked about a little bit more. But at OTAs, when he's running around in shorts and no pads and everything, he looked fast, and I guess he looked like he was picking things up and he was getting the praise. So we do kind of have to take a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt. But I mean, like Jamal, what you mentioned with me and you going out there, we was able to look at some things. And I'm going to be honest, like, I mean, a lot of the, players, I mean, they just look like they were going through the motions. Like AJ said, they're just jogging around. They're not running full speed. But then, I mean, you kind of look at a guy like Jahan Dotson and you just see him move a little bit differently. And this is stuff like that you see. And that you like to see the chemistry that him and Carson are building early, which I kind of mentioned before with Terry being out with his contract. When he's looking for a contract. Now Jahan Dotson gets to build that rapport and chemistry with Carson. So you kind of hope that carries over to the training camp. But those are the type of things you kind of want to look for more so than saying, oh, well, he's killing these guys in practice. He's going to be a beast. He's going to be Jamar Chase or whatever the case. So you can't really do that from OTAs. But like I said, you like to see the bonds that they're making. I mean, we'll talk probably a little bit later in the show about it with the quotes that we saw in the Albert Breer article about Carson and Ron about, bonds and the natural conversations that they're having with teammates and stuff. So you want to see that. Those are good things. But right now, it's just you can't take too much from it. But we do see this kind of hype every year with it.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on pretty much everything. But one of the things that's so hilarious to me is the fact that at the end of the season, fans, of course, were low on the team. Subsequent to acquiring Carson Wentz via trade, fans were low on the trade. And then we had a draft. And everybody has a draft. That's what I always try to get across is like everyone had a draft. And now we're this great team and we are going to be dynamic offensively. We haven't been dynamic offensively since like 2016, bro. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. And I'm not saying that because I'm down on the team. I'm actually high on the team. I've been high on the team. But at the same time, I know how to temper my expectations, and I no longer put on those burgundy and gold shades. Just like I try to be objective in a sense, but I don't take anything from OTAs. Like you said, this happens every single year. Everybody, these are professional athletes. Everybody's going to be flying around. Everybody's going to look good in shorts. Nobody's getting bumped at the line. Like I seen something from Logan Paulson. It was Logan Paulson, who said Benjamin St. Juste was the only guy who could check Jahan Dotson. Let's see when the season comes. And that's not because I'm not a fan of Dotson. It's just like let him earn his stripes. Right now, he's not earning stripes. He's just at practice in shorts. And he's, like you said, he's supposed to look good. They're all supposed to look good.
Yeah. I guess that's where I'm at. It's a mixture of all your responses. Yes, I do think we're over from a collective standpoint. We're overemphasizing these practice sessions, but in that same vein, there's still takeaways from it. Like AJ mentioned the spot that we can't really quantify, like from our perspective, because we don't know, what they do on a daily basis. But the bonding and stuff like that is something that you can take away from this, but also skill sets. Like you're seeing things in person from a media standpoint or an observer. You can kind of see like who your athletes are, who's going to be your playmakers, or just understanding like how they move and how they play in terms of the speed of the game and things like that. Now, in terms of further action, like training camp, when you have the pads on and it's not just like you can be as loose as possible in OTAs, I think that's kind of where things are going to change. But in terms of like the initial impressions, like Dotson looked really fluid. Like, and that's just one takeaway from a player that you seen for the first time in the Commander's uniform and in Washington at all. So there are certain things you could take away from certain athletes. Same thing with Cole Turner. And then the one guy I kept mentioning tight end, I kept getting their names mixed up. The dude from Ohio, he was the converted quarterback, Armani Rogers. I kept thinking he was the guy from Arizona State. But Armani Rogers was somebody who I was surprised by. Again, we're talking about athletic ability, but not necessarily what they can do on an offense. So it's like those are the things that you can kind of take away from OTAs and these type of practice sessions. Nothing concrete in terms of their ability to function in the offense and produce plays, and same thing for the defensive side of football. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Fellas, this Jack Del Rio thing, Montel, it's funny. Hey, Dre, I know you're gonna do a good job of capturing this, so I'm gonna rely on you 2 times this show. Montel he's not a social media guy, right? He doesn't tweet, but he replies. Like, he just likes to be involved with the Washington Twitter community and stuff like that. So he doesn't do a lot of tweeting on his own, but he will engage in conversations through replies. But he hasn't been on here long enough to understand what we go through on a daily basis, those who are active on Twitter with Jack Del Rio and stuff like that. So if you don't mind, what's going on, Colin? Nah, you didn't miss it. Go ahead and explain the things that we went through with Jack Del Rio over these past couple of years, because he got into some trouble again last night talking about looters in the January 6th comparison. It was a mess.
Yeah, so Montel, basically, Jack Del Rio, I don't know if you noticed, but his nickname is MAGA Jack. So, I mean, that should pretty much tell you everything about the Twitter experience following Jack Del Rio. Is, he's one of those guys, he's going to retweet every Fox News talking point, and he just stirs up the pot. I mean, he gets a lot of people riled up with his comments. And like I said, I think he gets on at night, especially he does a lot of tweeting at night. You'll see him come on around 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I think he's out drinking. He goes out drinking and he starts talking his shit, So, I mean, he really gets into those extreme right-wing talking points. I think he even retweeted at one point about that, whatever that little chemical that people were trying to take to prevent COVID. He was saying that works. So, I mean, yeah, that's the type of experience you have following Jack Del Rio. And of course, last night, again, he stirs up the pot, which, I mean, to me at this point, it's just an unnecessary distraction. I mean, personally, I just don't think you just need that at this point. I mean, this team is trying to build a lot of good momentum. And I know a lot of people probably agree with them and they're saying, oh, freedom of speech. Cool, but it's stirring the pot. I mean, it's just one of those things, it's fine if you believe it, but you don't need to just get on here and just ruin any good momentum this team is trying to get going by just, saying divisive bullshit like he got on and said last night. I mean, let's just be real. It was just very divisive. And, he made in my opinion, a real big false equivalency. And it's just not needed. It's like I said, especially with this team trying to go through a culture change. Because look at the responses. If you go on Twitter, you're seeing people curse Jason Wright out over what Jack Del Rio said by him. They're accusing Jason Wright of being complicit. So it's just that type of stuff, in my opinion, is just unnecessary. And then on top of that, you're a coach and most of your players are black and stuff like what you said last night. This could make some people feel a little bit uncomfortable. So you just got to be kind of mindful that a lot of that stuff does. I mean, even though you're saying it off the field, I mean, you got to, be mindful that these guys that you're leading, it can make them feel uncomfortable. So like I said, I just think a lot of it's just unnecessary.
I'm actually aware of Jack Del Rio. He did something, I want to say it was a couple weeks back. And my initial thought was definitely like, this dude had to have been drinking, because he ripped off like 3 or 4 straight tweets. I don't remember exactly what it was about or exactly when it was, but I'm well aware of Jack Del Rio exercising his freedom of speech. Now, I don't like to get into, and that part of the reason I don't even get on Twitter and tweet things that I think is because I just don't even have time. Like it's like you said, who wants to stir the pot? Who wants to cause more confusion or chaos? And I think with Jack, he has to understand who he is in the public eye. I think he does lack a little bit of self-awareness. And some of his points I do agree with, but it's like some of it, it's not even worth even speaking on, especially like you said, you share a locker room with majority African-American players. And some of the things, and I think I seen the tweet, I think Dre commented on the tweet that he had posted. And it's just like, bro, like, because you've never lived the lifestyle of an African American man, some things you'll never understand. So therefore, some things you just don't even have the right to even compliment on. You can compliment on it, but you don't even know, like you don't even understand what we go through every day as African American men. And it's just a cultural difference, bro. It's not to say that anybody's right or wrong, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think he just doesn't understand. Maybe he doesn't understand who he is, but a lot of it is a little bit immature. And I have trouble even seeing how him and Ron coexist in the same locker room, with Jack kind of doing the things he does, and then Ron being this, Ron is always like a politically correct guy. He tries to walk that straight line, and he tries not to say anything that's going to offend anybody. Granted, people are going to be offended regardless. But I don't have a problem with Ron for doing that. It's like I said, understanding who you are, understanding the moment. I think Jack fails to do that sometimes, and it's an unfortunate situation, like you said, especially for a team with all this stuff already behind them. It's like, bro, you're just adding to it.
So hold on one second, AJ, because I want to give you the floor on this one, because I saw your tweet, so that's really why I wanted to talk about this. Hold on 1 second. So first thing first, Kev, appreciate the resubscription, man. I did see yours. I'm a little late checking the Twitch side, so I appreciate the resubscription, man. Happy 1 year anniversary. He said the 1 year sub to the Trap or Dive, man. So I appreciate you rocking with us for a year, man. I think it was the first sub too. I think you was the first sub, and you've been rocking with us for a whole year, man. So we appreciate you on the Twitch side, and we keep that thing going. So with that being said, there was one thing. Matter of fact, I'll let AJ go. But everybody that's checking in, if you're on YouTube, the link is in the description. I'll try to manage it in which way, but if you want to come up and join the conversation, you can definitely do that. I want to make sure we include some of the listeners and some of the viewers and things like that, so you can chop it up with us. The link is in the description on YouTube. You can join it right then and there. AJ, the floor is yours, big dog.
Yeah, man. And in regards to Jack Del Rio, sooner or later, I knew this shit was going to come back up. Because of the certain, groups that he follows on Twitter, and I don't believe I follow Jack Del Rio, but on Twitter they'll show you like who some of these, like you might see some content that might look outrageous. You click on it, it'll tell you like this person follows this page. So I seen some type of group, and he subscribes to like bullshit messages that are very divisive and against Black people, majority. And for him to be a defensive coordinator of a team in the nation's capital is very alarming when someone can't dissect the difference between people protesting for being disenfranchised and being murdered by police and not having equal rights in comparison to people that storm the Capitol. Like, if you can't decipher the two as a grown-ass man, you need to get the fuck on, like, point blank, period. Like, he should not be on the staff for the remainder of the year. He should get fired, in my opinion. Yeah, you can say people have First Amendment rights. Nah, but like, real talk, if one of the players came out and was tweeting like that, they were mediocre at their job, they would get reprimanded or released, and more than likely released. But Jack Del Rio, it's like he's so comfortable in his position. Even at the end of the year, let's even just focus on performance base. He was like, why wouldn't I be back? Like, what do you mean, bro? You stunk up the joint, and you still were brought back just because of the relationship with Ron Rivera. But overall, man, you can't lead a defensive side of the ball that's predominantly African American Black men, and you don't understand that they're disenfranchised and the things that they have to deal with when they step outside of those walls at Redskins Park or Commanders Center, whatever the hell you want to call that shit. You don't understand those things. Like, you can't lead those men. You can't put them in the right position. You can't understand their plight. You've been a head coach in this league. You've made money off of the backs of Black people's labor, and you won't even stand in the fire with them to understand why people would be out there protesting. You're trying to compare the two. That is very alarming. And Ron Rivera cannot preach culture to these players when one of his head coaches, like Jack Del Rio, is pretty much an assistant head coach. When you're a coordinator, you're assistant head coach pretty much. You're running the whole show for the defense. You cannot have that type of person leading your team on any side of the ball, period, point blank, period. And no one seems to have been telling him to like chill out on tweeting, whatever, because PR department will easily do that to the players. Like, that's why players don't really even engage with the fan base like that, because when they say one little thing, it could be misconstrued. This man is out here tweeting, not giving two fucks about what he's saying. And it's no issue. And that's why we got to talk about it in the month of June. And I just feel like, aside from, just even the commentary on Twitter, he's been poor at his job and he should be let go. I'm hoping that something is addressed in that manner, because at the end of the day, I know those guys personally are seeing the same content, and it should get asked whenever a camera is put back in front of Jack Del Rio or Ron Rivera, like, what's going on with this, because it matters. Like, these players get asked about those same things. You have end racism, equality on the football field and on helmets and shit like that, T-shirts, but yet this guy's over here talking about, yeah, he's perfectly fine with the people storming the Capitol did, but black people that were protesting for George Floyd and equal rights and things of that nature, he doesn't understand that, and he sees them as lesser than than what the people storming the Capitol did. Nah, bro, like, fuck you. Point blank, period.
So there was a couple things that or a different angle, because we kind of covered the Del Rio in itself, and this ain't really the Cash blame in a sense, but Montel, you brought up Ron Rivera at one point in your response and your thoughts. There was a tweet that I mentioned about Jack Del Rio. I said really that he never really had what his core values or beliefs are, so I'm really not surprised by what he says. I mean, none of us really should be surprised, but I'm just low-key surprised that, he still hits the tweet button. If anything, you can be on Twitter, your presence can be there. Just hit the like button. Just, you don't even have to say anything. Just hit your like button, and keep it pushing. But somebody responded to me. Hold on. Somebody responded to me and said that, his views are pretty clear. But he's surprised that Ron Rivera hasn't told Jack to stop. And my response to that was more so, I'm surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised that Ron even cares. Like, we're assuming that he cares about this. I'm not even sure that Ron cares what Jack Del Rio is doing. He can turn, for all we know, turn a blind eye to everything that Jack Del Rio is talking about in terms of his political views and all those things. And I'm like, if that's the case, it's clearly a hierarchy in, like, that's kind of set up in terms of, who can say what and who can run this ship and who's a part of running this ship. And as long as they're talking, as long as they're doing their job on the football side, nothing else really matters. And I'm like, again, I'm not sitting here blaming Ron Rivera for what Jack Del Rio is doing, but I will say that it's possible that he's enabling it, because this has gone back to 2020. I had to do research because I remember this conversation happened. I didn't know if it was last year or actually 2020, and it was June of 2020. And that was the last time I think that even Ron was asked or about like political sides or even kneeling in football games. And that was the last time something was brought up to this degree. So I'm not even sure that Ron cares. I think he's aware. I just don't think he cares.
I feel like he should. And I'm sorry, Dre, my point gonna be super short. It's gonna be super short. Because if you're gonna hold your leaders accountable, you gotta always hold your leaders accountable. And he got on Dwayne Haskins for tweeting about his stats. So if we can get on Dwayne Haskins about tweeting about his stats, you need to get in Jack Del Rio ass. That's all I'm gonna say, because this is far more blown out of proportion than anything Dwayne has. He was benched, he was buried on the bench, and God rest his soul. But everybody dating back to when I was, when he was here, I had an issue with that. Man, if we gonna hold people accountable, we gotta always hold people accountable. We can't sometimes do it and then sometimes not. That's the last thing I'm gonna say on that.
I was gonna say I agree, but as far as the whole whether he cares or not, I think it has to do with if any media pressure comes from it. Right now, it's just on Twitter. You know, just people tweeting. I mean, Ron may not even be on Twitter like that. He probably just gets on if he wants to tweet some promotional shit or something. But other than that, he might not even be seeing what's going on. Maybe people are saying, hey, Ron, this is going on, you know, behind the scenes. But if you don't have, you know, the guys at press conferences asking them questions about it, then that's probably as far as it's going to go.
He knows,
because
but I mean, Dre, if we gonna have this motherfucker, we gonna talk about it, right? Because I'm mad about the situation. Because at the end of the day, I feel like Jack Del Rio been doing a lot of out of pocket shit that players can't do. You feel me? And they give them the rules and the guidelines and the conduct that they need to follow, but yet your coordinator is not doing that. And that's really important. That's really important to me because at the end of the day, this man is supposed to put young Black African American guys in position to win when he really don't give a fuck about their plight. He don't care about them. Like when you're out there with your public commentary in that manner, you don't care. But it's like Ron Rivera knows what's happening. If he can come back and talk to Albert Breer about what Darius Leonard tweeted, Jonathan Taylor, all these guys tweeted in reference to Carson Wentz, he damn sure know that his boy Jack Del Rio from Cali that he grew up with, they were the top linebackers coming out of the state of Cali at the time. He's been knowing him. He knows his personality. He knows how he feels. Maybe Ron feels the same damn way. I don't know. Like I don't know Ron on that level. But at the same token, you can't be a part of the franchise and the face of the franchise and the representative, a leader, and maneuver in that manner when majority of your team is Black guys. Like majority of your team is Black men, bro. Like you have to be more compassionate. And if you feel that way, don't publicly say it. Like you said, Maul, don't press send on the tweet. They tell the players not to do that all the time. Like, don't press send on the tweet that you'll regret. Nah, this motherfucker he press sends on his tweets and he never deletes it. He don't apologize. And the media, white dudes as well, they're not gonna bring that smoke because they may not even want to go down that particular lane. But at the end of the day, if we had more people on our side and more Black journalists within those locker rooms and having the ability to get in front of a Jack Del Rio, it could blow up to a bigger situation. I honestly feel like he should be fired. Like, I think that's conduct detrimental to the team.
But AJ, yeah, so no, I agree 100% with that. And the thing is that upsets me about what Jack Del Rio does, and we're mentioning Ron Rivera in this, is that Ron Rivera, like we all sit here and we can say Ron Rivera is politically correct, and he probably doesn't go that way or, you know, have those extreme beliefs that Jack Del Rio does. But if he's silent, he leaves his character up for debate in that regard, you know? So now people are wondering, does his thoughts and views align with Jack Del Rio, which is why Jack Del Rio is allowed to say what he's doing on Twitter, you know, so comfortably. So yeah, go ahead, Jamal. Yep.
No, I was going to say, now while I agree with where you're leading, I don't think people have reached that point yet. I don't think people want to think about Ron Rivera in that type of light, in that, you know, he may be complicit because he's silent, or that, you know, he may actually align with Ron Rivera. I mean, with Jack Del Rio, and he just won't say nothing. I don't think people want to start thinking about that thought, because if they find out the truth, that's going to hurt them even more, because they're counting on Ron Rivera on the football side. They're counting on Ron Rivera to, you know, fix this whole damn thing. So I agree with what you're saying. I just don't think, I think you're ahead of the curve on this one. I don't think people want to even cross that thought just yet. And before we get back to it, I do got to get some shout outs, man, for the people that's in here. What's going on, Hawk? Darius, what's up? He got the bite D's, the Jack Del Rio quote in there. Colin mentioned,
I actually like that one.
Yeah, nah, that joke was randomly funny.
It was childish, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was. Colin mentioned, great point on AJ. You can't respect a player on the field while simultaneously disrespecting them off the field. It doesn't add up. Personal conduct policy applies to players, coaches, and owners, but we know that's not true. Darius mentioned Jack Del Fiendo, and then Colin mentioned, until someone higher than JDR corrects them, JDR speaks for the organization in his opinion.
Well, he did delete the tweet, the original tweet. So maybe someone did say something to him, because that's not like Jack to delete a tweet. So maybe that pressure did get to someone up there. Maybe.
Maybe. Do we got any closing thoughts on Del Rio and the situation, AJ? I know you said you was a little pissed off, so you if you got some more to get off your chest, the floor is yours.
No, I mean I just think he shouldn't be on the staff anymore. That's my opinion.
I
Some
got you. I
people
got you.
some people might think it's a bit aggressive, but he's been doing this since he's been with Washington, and it's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of teams didn't touch him. If Ron Rivera didn't get a job, he wouldn't be on anybody's staff.
That is wild. I just thought about that.
He was in the booth. He was at ESPN. He was
Bro,
talking.
he was in the booth, bro. Ron Rivera just got let go. He had plenty of options, and he got Jack Del Rio. Now I'm not gonna sit here and act like Jack Del Rio is a terrible coach. Like I was a fan of the hire, but to AJ's point, you know, if he wasn't getting touched by other teams, or if he just didn't take on opportunities, why did Ron reach out to him on this one, and why did Jack Del Rio accept it? That is something that we're not gonna know, but you know, it's something to think about. What's going on, Iffy? I ain't gonna sit here and try to pronounce your name. I'm a butcher, so I don't want to disrespect you, but I'm gonna call you Iffy. I appreciate you checking in. Fellas, again, I told you I was gonna rely on you twice. Dre, I relied on you on this first time. The second time, we're talking Carson Wentz and Ron Rivera. They recently spoke with Albert Breer, I think in the month of May. Albert Breer just published an article recapping essentially the takeaways from those conversations. Let us know what's going on with these guys and what the kind of the 11,000 foot view of this conversation stems from.
Yeah, no. So I was reading the Monday morning quarterback article by Albert Breer, which, like you said, he had some. I believe the quotes came from the golf outing or something that they had where the players faced off against the coaches. But anyway, it was just Ron kind of feeling validated in his decision to bring Carson Wentz here. A lot of his quotes mentioned, outside of the football field, a lot of the talk about Carson Wentz, since the trade has went down is, why hasn't it worked out in Indianapolis and Philadelphia the last 2 years? And a lot of the stories you hear are, well, he doesn't connect well in the locker room, or, he's people don't like him, or he's an asshole, this, that, or the third. And these quotes that Ron is kind of putting out there in this Monday morning quarterback article kind of goes against that. He's saying Carson's making natural friendships here. He said he's watching him from afar. He's looking at him interact with his teammates. He said he's watching him talk to his teammates about family and everybody. He was like, he can connect with everyone. And he said it's very pleasing to see. And that's a great start. I mean, that's the only start you're going to have right now outside of OTAs, which you can't take much from. But building trust, building those relationships with teammates. These are some of the things that they said that Carson Wentz was bad at in Indianapolis and Philadelphia, and one of the biggest reasons they got rid of him. So if you're starting out on a good foot here with that, maybe you're thinking Carson's mature, and then maybe you think you're getting the quarterback that you traded for and you made a good decision. So right now, and a lot of that article was Ron feeling really good so far about his decision and feeling validated. And, of course, he had some quotes and stuff about what he's seeing at OTAs and, the talent level, but I think everyone kind of knows what Carson can do. I mean, he's, kind of been inconsistent the last couple of years. He'll have a game where he probably looks like a top 5 quarterback in the game, and then he'll have a game where he just looks like a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. So, that's one of the things you want to eliminate. But Ron is kind of confident that, these things are all correctable. Like they even got into the why they started running late in games last year with the Colts and, going to Jonathan Taylor. They were saying that Carson was struggling a bit, and that led to Indianapolis, going more so to the Jonathan Taylor running game. But Ron has quoted in that article saying that's correctable stuff. He said that's very correctable, and the mistakes he's seen. So at this point, it's a wait and see. I mean, it's a gamble that Ron made. He's feeling good about his gamble. A lot of people, are suspicious, or a lot of people are hesitant to kind of buy into it. But his quotes seem like he's happy, and it wasn't just him. Scott Turner had some quotes in there. Scott Turner, mentioned how smart Carson Wentz is and how he's picking up everything. But more so, the takeaway I got from this article is that Carson so far has been a great locker room presence, but obviously it's May, June. So, they haven't played any games. So that's when you want to see what the locker room presence really is.
Hey, Montel, what did I say? Now, so basically in the conversation I had with Montel probably like a few days ago, I'm about to bring it up so I can get the word for word thing. We were talking about, let me look at it. I was saying I did have a belief that the offense was kind of overhyped already this offseason, but I think it was manufactured in a similar way in which that the Colts were doing the same thing with Matt Ryan, and I think that we're doing the same thing with our offense. But I brought this point up because Dre, you kind of hinted to the fact that of course that our staff is going to say all these positive things about Carson Wentz. Specifically, you brought up the locker room part because that locker room has been a problem in previous stints with Philly and Indianapolis, and we're trying to push that narrative that he's doing just fine in his locker room. The same thing in a different spectrum that the Colts are doing with Matt Ryan, and the fact that he's already grasped and got control of the locker room. He's his excellent leader, all of these things and stuff like that. And I kind of, in my head, it kind of like, it's like this war going on. And I see it in my head, and it's hard to kind of interpret through words, but I know what's going on. And it's like, why the fuck do you keep doing this? Why do y'all care so much about that public perception when you already made your decision, both sides? When you already made your decision and got rid of Carson Wentz and got Matt Ryan, you already took on that $28 million cap hit and said, we're going to have Carson Wentz for at least 1 year. Why do you care about what the hell the public thinks when you already made your decisions? So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I'm going to hand the floor to you all. But I just wanted to point that part out. Like, I know these games that's being played right now, and it's very annoying.
I give you a quick analogy. It's like you want this chick, but she known for being outside and being a hoe, right?
AJ a real one.
AJ
a real. Hey, I immediately knew. I was like, I like this analogy. Oh, rip.
So when you finally get a chance to possibly crank this joint, you telling her like, nah, baby, you good. Like, don't nobody know about you. Don't nobody care about that. Don't nobody care about your body count. That's exactly what they doing with Carson Wentz, bro. They are massaging this motherfucker, making him feel like he's wanted. And in actuality, they don't know what the hell they've gotten themselves into. But we going to try it and see if it sticks.
But AJ, I met a reformed hoe before. I have. They stopped having sex when they met me.
You said what?
They stopped having sex by the time they met me. They said they wanted to change and they wanted to be a housewife.
They're a whole different person.
That's a reformed hoe. Maybe Carson's reformed.
Man, you fell for the okie doke, but not this guy.
Dre said, "Stop trying to wife me. I want to do what all them other dudes was doing."
Like at the end of the day, like Ron Rivera keep talking to the media about this dude, keep bringing up 2017, and it's like, bro, Cam Newton won the MVP in 2016. Bring him back. You feel me? If you're going to focus on previous years, like even you as a coach, you used to be good. You ain't been good lately yourself. You was hot in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. That's the last time you won probably more than 9 games. Like, at the end of the day, like, you can't focus on that too much, but just let things play out. Stop talking about Carson Wentz in the public or to major media outlets such as the Sports Illustrated and these big-time reporters. Just let it play out, because the reality is games are not being played yet. Even preseason hasn't been played yet. You really don't know how this man's going to do in the locker room until them L's start piling up and them picks start getting thrown. So don't sit here and be like, oh, he's a good guy in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. Because even in reality, man, like Ron Rivera has focused so much. He's focused so much on these tweets that Darius Leonard put out and a couple other guys who like, what did you expect? Did you expect them to come out in public and really bash this man? Like, I represent a client that played with Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. It's not what you're seeing in the public. Like, he was bad in the locker room, like point blank period. Like at the end of the day, nobody's gonna talk about it publicly because they're football players. Like, they also don't have guaranteed contracts. Like, they don't have the ability to speak freely like a Draymond Green and Pat Bev, you know? Like, so they really always on some PC shit. And the reality is, like, Ron Rivera didn't even speak to Frank Wright and Chris Ballard about Carson Wentz in the locker room until after they already completed the trade. So what did you expect him to say?
Two things, because I know, Montel, you wanted to speak. Let me catch up on the quotes. or the comments. Colin mentioned that Ron loves to control the narrative like every other coach. In parentheses, he stated. Alex, what's going on, Alex? Appreciate you checking in, big
Who
dog.
said
He
that?
said,
That's a good comment because it's
Colin.
true.
Yeah. So yeah, you can speak on that then. But Alex mentioned the Wentz story. He felt like was a puff piece. And then Darius mentioned, in all seriousness, the biggest thing on the field would be controlling the turnover rate in that backfield with Wentz and Gibson being. That's a good point. Antonio Gibson, both being turnover prone. So Montel, the floor is yours. But I did want to bring up to AJ's point. Even Albert Beer mentioned the quotes from those. He called them the Indies alphas, and he also was actually kind of. He mentioned that Rivera was kind of vague or didn't dive into specifically instances that it kind of went down with Wentz and his experiences with the Eagles and Colts, but he said it didn't take too much to figure out, I guess, from his eyes. But he mentioned those T.Y. Hilton's, Darius Leonard's, Jonathan Taylor quotes. And he was like, when those quotes came out, he's like, okay, there's more to the story. So that's kind of where he leaned. But to your point, and I know I was gonna get this Montel, but to your point, I don't think even if he talked to him before he made the trade, I don't think they would have got an answer that was that would have been off-putting. That's the word I was thinking of. I don't think he would have got any answer like that. I think anything they would have got from those coaches, it wouldn't have been anything bad-mouthing Carson Wentz. So I think if you spoke to him before or after, you probably would have got the same answer.
I mean, if he got a rapport with them, they'll tell him the truth. And if you really want to do your due diligence, as they supposedly always like to say they do, they would know what type of player he was. That's the main reason, even during the draft period, you bring in these guys that you don't even expect yourself to be in a position to draft, but it's to learn their personality, their characteristics, so that when you are given the opportunity to pursue them in free agency and different things, you already have a profile on these guys. And with Carson Wentz, it was just panic mode, and now they're just trying to sell it to the fan base. That's cool, but stop talking about this motherfucker like he Peyton Manning or something out here. Like I mean, teammates have came out and spoke about him. Chris Long, for example, he did an interview maybe about a month and a half ago and went into detail about how Carson Wentz maneuvered within that Philadelphia Eagles locker room. And everything that he said has been everything that most reporters have been reporting about, how he maneuvers characteristic-wise. He doesn't reach over to the other aisle to really, connect with players and being a leader. That's not who he is. Why do we expect that person to change? Like, I feel like too many times we want people to change, but some people are who they are. It may work for them, it may not. In this case, it hasn't been working for Carson. I don't expect it to change just because he's with a new team. I don't even think Washington is set up in that way to be able to help a guy in that nature, because really a lot of the pressure is even more on Carson Wentz than it has been probably in Philadelphia and Indianapolis, because he's really about to be playing for his career as a starter in this league.
Montel, you got the floor.
So I got a question and a comment. As it pertains to Ron Rivera, I've been thinking this. I swear I've been thinking this because your man said it. He really loves to control the narrative. Do you guys think that everything that has been coming out that's been overly positive, do you think it's due to Ron Rivera? It's a co-centric vibe right now. I'm like, there was a point in time where I don't know if they were trying to get rid of the radio station or what it was. It was something weird going on, but I'm just like, man, is that wrong? And are they controlling the narrative right now? But you guys can answer that later. I've been a little bit skeptical about that. But I'm going to just say something real, right fast as it pertains to this whole locker room shit. Nah, I'm being dead serious, bro. Man, as a bunch of grown men, we shouldn't give a fuck about how you are in the locker room. If you can ball, I do not care. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe. If you can ball, you're my friend. If you can hoop, that's all I care about, bro. At the end of the day, we here to get this bag and we here to win games. All these grown men, Chris Long, I heard that interview, bro. And he didn't bag on Carson Wentz. At the end of the day, I'm not breaking no grown man down like that because we just here to do business. I'm not overanalyzing you like that. We just here to play ball. Come lift these weights. Let's go on the field. Let's practice. That's how we treat it at work. That's how it is in the workforce. That's football is nothing but a business. At the end of the day, everybody overblows the whole locker room aspect of it. It really is overblown. I know there are people who will say different, but RG3 was an asshole. Guess what? In 2012, he was loved because he was good. When he started losing and he started sucking, that's when it became an issue. If you can play, that's all that matter, bro. Go out there and ball wins. That's all anybody wants to see. That's all the fans care about. That's all the players care about. That's all the coaches care about. We don't care about nothing else. I don't care. That's why I put that on. I don't care if Jahan Dotson graduated from college. I don't care if Carson Wentz, but I don't care. Go ball, bro.
Got some diploma, whoop-de-doo, nigga.
I don't give a fuck.
I agree 100% with Montel because, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks are weirdos. Let's get this straight. Kyler Murray, he's known, a lot of his teammates have actually come out, privately under anonymity. They're coming out saying that Kyler Murray, he's a selfish dude, this, that, and the third. But he's not the only quarterback. You hear these reports about quarterbacks all the time. And it's a lot of them are good quarterbacks. But like you said, if you're out there, Aaron Rodgers is a fucking weirdo, straight up weirdo. But Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. And, you know what I'm saying? So he can still win games. It's just all of that shit doesn't matter. And Montel's right because Carson, sure, he may have a couple of locker room issues. Maybe everyone won't like him. Everyone didn't like Kirk Cousins, but a lot of people still talk about Kirk Cousins like he's the best quarterback of all time for the Washington franchise. But a lot of people in the locker room didn't connect with him. But at the end of the day, can you do your job? That's what I want to see. Because right now, when you're not doing your job, like when Carson bowed out at the end of his career with Philadelphia in 2020, he was terrible. That was his worst season in the league. Then, of course, no one cares about the person at that point. Now, he's awful in the locker room and he's sucking. No, we don't like anything about this guy at this point. So he goes to the Colts and then, he flamed out at the end. Jim Irsay didn't like him for whatever reason. And, maybe he got a couple of locker room complaints and then people are going to talk about it there. So you're going to grasp for things or look for more things when you're looking for reasons to not like a person. That's not to say that Carson Wentz isn't who everyone says he is, but if he's playing good, like Montel says, cool. I'm okay with it.
But the reality is it matters how your quarterback is. If we're talking about a safety or something of that nature, it's different. Your quarterback, it matters because you're going to hit highs and lows, and how you handle your lows and you capitalize on being a leader and also cultivating those relationships so that these guys trust in you. They believe in the fact that you really are going to put your best foot forward to win and you're going to pull them together. That shit matters, bro. Like, if you look around the league, just look at the teams in the playoffs last year. Most of those teams that have had success, they have quarterbacks that are leaders that can really rally the troops. Like Kyler Murray's situation, they got blown out in the playoffs. And what did he do? He ended up just packing up his shit like, this is bullshit. And that's when you start hearing the news about his characteristics. But you see guys rally around the Joe Burrows. Even in just the second year in the league, they made it to the Super Bowl. You see guys win the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. They don't know him from nowhere. He comes in, he's able to get that attention. Of course, he has Super Bowls, whatever. But even Justin Herbert had that issue coming out of Oregon. But he's been able to rally those guys together to let them realize, like, hey, I might be a little bit different than you guys personality-wise, but at the end of the day, I'm going to give it my all to win on this field. I'm going to make some mistakes or whatever, but we're going to bounce back, believe in me, whatever, I got y'all. You don't see that in Carson Wentz, and that's why it's really been a deterrent on his career. And it matters. Yeah, they grown men or whatever, but you got to look at it as an organization. You want your quarterback to be that leader, someone that's going to be able to get everybody together to be on the same accord, and that's just not who he is. And I'm cool with the fact that's not who he is. I just hope that Ron really realizes that's it, or him and Carson Wentz won't be here next year.
It's hard to be a leader when you lose him, bro. It's hard for anybody. I don't care who you are.
But that's when you can still be a good leader and take them L's, right?
But good leaders aren't always liked either.
So here's a perfect example, AJ. And I heard this back when I was in high school. When there's a tough guy coach, like that tough guy approach, it is effective and it works when we're winning. As soon as we start losing, everybody looking at you like, bro, if you don't shut the fuck up, like that's not working. Like, I'm telling you, it's hard for anybody to be a leader when you're losing. Everybody you just named, they're winners, bro. And Carson Wentz, he lost. So the public perception is, okay, he's not a good leader. But in Philly, when they went to the Super Bowl, he was a great leader. But that year where everybody got hurt and then, you know what I'm saying, it was all on Carson Wentz, of course they're not going to deem him a good leader. I'm just saying, I don't care who you are. You could be Chase Young. You could be Tom. If Tom Brady lost, if Tom Brady won 2 games next year, they're going to be like, all right, get this old motherfucker out of here. I'm telling you, bro, I don't care who you are. It is tough to lead when you are losing. You didn't name anybody that loses on a consistent basis. Give me a loser who's a great leader. It doesn't exist.
And I got a good point for you. We just actually seen it. I think a really good leader, just by listening to him talking, we actually met him, John Allen. He got a fight with Deron Payne last year when they were getting blown out. Yeah. You know? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because maybe Deron Payne didn't like hearing his voice at that time. You know what I mean? But like I said, leaders aren't always liked. But I still think he's a good leader. But that's not to say I think that Carson Wentz is a good leader. I don't know what kind of leader Carson Wentz is, to be quite honest with you. But it's not also not to say that he can't be a good leader. I mean, he could be a good leader. Maybe it just hasn't been received when he's losing or when things aren't going well. But I don't know. Maybe we'll answer some of those questions this season.
It is. And I know you had them Stephen A. and Skip Bayless type of heat in your back pocket, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Man. You know what I'm saying?
You watch too much that ESPN production. That's what it is, bro.
Nah, I'm feeling that drink a little bit. I ain't even gonna lie to you. We got a little hot in here.
Hey, you want some real shit, bro? I'm about to speak some real shit. Hey, man, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all, bro. If he mentioned when AJ was mentioning his quarterbacks, if he mentioned, look at Watson. A whole lot of them do have those emotional complexes. Colin,
that's AJ's boy too. That's AJ's boy.
That's AJ's boy right there. Colin mentioned
Deshaun Watson.
Watson.
I mean, he get along perfectly fine with the guys. So I mean, y'all already know, man. I'm not feeling this Wentz move, but at the end of the day, I'm glad it happened because it will just expedite the process of Ron Rivera getting out of here. I don't see them doing shit as a team. So at the end of the day, for me, you know, I think everybody realizes once the season kicks in, we're in June, so we gotta talk about these things. But once the season start rolling, we'll see exactly what we know Carson Wentz to be. It's not gonna change. So,
all right, and there we go with the show. It's like but Colin did mention one thing before we get up out of here. Tom Brady works all off season with his receivers at elementary school. Maybe not his friends, but they spend time together, develop relationships. So he's speaking on the side in which, Brady spends time to work his relationships on the offensive side of the football. Great show, Colin said. I appreciate it. The fellas appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? And again, hey, first off, if y'all aren't following Colin, I think he changed his Twitter handle, so I wish I could. Let me see if I can try and pull it up right quick. But he does good work with the cap space, the cap space stuff, and cap analysis is far above my means. So it was good to kind of look at the things that he was talking about. I can't even find it. I don't know where it's at. Oh, here it is. Mofo Pod. MOFO Pod. He does a lot of cap stuff over there. So make sure you are following him on Twitter. With that being said, the fella's about to get up out of here. I'll be back tomorrow for the All 32 side of Trap or Dive. Mini camps start. Is it next Tuesday? Is it the 13th or 14th? I don't know. If it starts on Tuesday next week, we will go live on Tuesday. Again, remember, this is all season, so we're kind of flexible with our schedule. We ain't gonna get on the show. We ain't got nothing to talk about, right? But if it is next Tuesday, we will go live Tuesday evening. I'll figure that part out. So you'll know when we know. Again, live tomorrow, 7 p.m. All 32 side. The fellas will be back shortly. Maya Shaka, that's next week. Make sure you all check that out. Percy Butler film session, that's on Hog Saving right now. YouTube breakdown coming soon. De'Ami Brown coming up next. So yeah, with that being said, we out of here. Y'all enjoy y'all evening, y'all day, whenever y'all watching, all that good stuff. Peace. How do I close it? There we go. Boom. And boy,